Hello friends and welcome to another video lesson from DBOS Talk. If you haven't subscribed yet, please click subscribe and click the bell so that you can be notified of new uploads. This video is part of the playlist called Linux tutorial, and here we'll be learning about Linux variables. Okay, so a variable is used to store text or numbers, values. Okay, but I just put in here a few points that you can take note of. Okay, first is by default, the value of a variable is treated as text. Okay, and then secondly, when assigning a value, there must be no spaces before and after the equal sign. So I will show you what I mean by that in a while. Okay, so here's the screen. I'll be showing you some examples of a variable. So first is declaring a variable and assigning a value to it. Again, if you have no background in IT, it shouldn't bother you too much. A variable is a container of values. That's what it is. So here we are declaring or introducing a variable so that Linux knows what it is and knows how to use it. Okay. So let's look at an example here. So name equals John. When you execute that line of code over there, it looks like it doesn't do anything, but in fact it does. What it does is, it is first, you are declaring a variable called name. Okay, that's the variable name. And then, so you're doing two things at the same time. You're declaring a variable called name, a container of values, and you're giving it an initial value of John. Okay, so this value is getting assigned to this variable. Again, this value is getting assigned to this variable. Okay, so this is text value. This is a character, string. You can hear this kind of terminologies in the IT world. Okay, so if you wanna later on access or get the value of this variable called name, then you will be making use of the echo command, which I have talked about in a previous video. So you will say echo, that's the command, which will display the value of a variable. And then you will say dollar and then the variable name. Okay, in this case, the variable name here is only this one. Okay, so again, this is the variable name and this is the value you're assigning to it, to the variable. So to display the value of that variable, you will use the echo command followed by, of course, a space and then a dollar preceding the variable name. All right. So when I execute this, it will display to me or on the screen the value of the variable I am using as a parameter to the echo command. Okay. If you haven't seen this command, I suggest you go back because in the same playlist, Linux tutorial in my channel, there's a video there about echo. In fact, very previous to this one you're watching now. Okay, so if you, it's good to know what the echo command is doing before you get into this video. Okay, so we are displaying the value of the variable called name, and to do that, we use the echo command followed by space, of course, and then the variable name preceded by a dollar sign. You're trying to access or get or display the value of the variable. Okay, now, a little bit of caveat over here because remember that in Linux, most things are case sensitive. Okay, so if I will do this, it's an echo dollar. The For someone who is just beginning to learn Linux, then this may not be so obvious. But if you execute this now, it will give me nothing. Why is that? Because Linux is case sensitive. Then it is looking, the echo command is looking for a variable with the name of name, but beginning with a capital N, and it finds none. Or it could have found something that has no value. But in this case, there is really no variable called name with an uppercase n. The one we declared earlier is one with a lowercase n. That's why it finds nothing, it displays nothing. Okay, that's because again, Linux is case sensitive. So to do that, you must pay attention to the case sensitivity of Linux, of its commands, its options, and parameters, as well as the variable names in this case. Okay. Now let's look at another example of declaring and initializing a variable. Okay. Again, in this single line of code, we are doing two things. One is declaring a variable called age, and then we are assigning a value of 30 to that variable. Okay, and then when you execute that, it's as if nothing happened, but in fact something did, which is the variable has been saved to the memory, and a value of 30 has been given to it. Again, to access that value, we shall use the echo command, space, followed by a dollar, and then no space after the dollar, immediately write the variable name, 30. Okay, again, be reminded that in Linux, most things are case sensitive, okay, especially commands and even for in the case of variable names. So it's quite simple to display a variable name. I mean, a variable's value. It is like this. This is the syntax. Okay, so now if you remember, I have given you two examples of two variables being declared as well as being initialized with a value. The first one was name, the second is age. So now I will remember at the very beginning, near the beginning of the video, I mentioned that by default, the value of a variable is being treated as text or string. Okay. Um, you will see this is true because I will show you something. Let me clear. So I will show you that, in fact, even the age value, which is 30, is indeed numeric. Yes, it's a number value, but in Linux, when you assign it to a variable, by default, it is being treated as text, okay, as a string. In fact, here in this example, I will be showing you it is doing a concatenation. So I'm using again the echo command followed by dollar, which as you already know is a way to access or get the value of a variable. So I'm accessing or getting the value of variable called name and the variable called age in succession with no spaces in between them. And so what it will do is it will display the value of dollar, okay, of the variable called name and the variable called age. So it's like this. It is like concatenation. Concatenation of the value of this and I mean with this, okay? So you can see that indeed by default Linux treats a variable value as text or string. Now, without causing any confusion to somebody quite new to Linux, I could take this a step further by creating a sentence out of these two variables. Okay, give me a second. So again, I'm using the echo command, and even though there's a bunch of words, if you may, in this example, you'll notice that I'm only using the echo command once at the very beginning of the line. So echo, and then it will display everything that follows the echo command. You'll also notice that this is a combination of accessing variable values, in this case, the value of name variable and the value of age variable. And in between them are hard-coded text. So echo dollar name, meaning the value of that variable. And then here, hard-coded text is dollar age, the variable value, and then some other hard-coded text. The intention is to construct a sentence out of two variables, a combination of two variables as well as hard-coded text. Let's go. So you can see it is able to build a sentence with the use of a combination of variables and hard-coded text, and with the right spacing that's needed. So the final result of this command is this: John is 30 years old. Okay. So you can see that the combination of the echo command with the use of variable names is a very powerful tool. And later on in subsequent videos that we'll be talking about, we'll be touching on, we'll be delving into, you will see that it can be used for multiple purposes, such as logging, as well as logging them to a file and then creating a file out of them through redirection and other techniques that are available to Linux. Okay, so although I only use the echo command, Linux stitch together a combination of these combination of variables and hard-coded text to come up with a sentence. There's a lot more to be talked about around the topic of variables in Linux, but I believe this is a good start for you. Okay, thank you for watching and listening. If you haven't subscribed yet, please click subscribe and click the bell. And I'll be seeing you in the next video.